back with us with another Monday. We're talking all things KC with our 55th elected mayor, Mayor Quinton Lucas. Now, Mayor Lucas, we saw you in a mayoral percolator in New Orleans over the weekend. What was you drinking on, man, that had you acting all out of character? We ain't never seen you act like that before.
Hey, man, you get your knees moving, you start to have a good time. I was down there for Democratic Party meetings. I was with the former mayor of New Orleans, a gentleman named Mitchell Andrew. We ended up in the streets, found a good band. And, you get in a dance competition on Bourbon Street, and you got to just start moving. I had to stand up with the people from Missouri. So, it looked, we had a good time. It was a lovely time down there. I had nothing to sip on. I was just being a good American, good dancer. And I got back in bed in my hotel room right after that. Very well behaved. Ain't nothing coming from me in terms of stories.
He said, ain't no security camera footage coming nowhere. We did see you with Miss Patti LaBelle, though.
Now, see, that was epic. So same event. Patti LaBelle is there, and they're like, you going to go meet Patti LaBelle? I'm like, she ain't trying to talk to me. And then went there, the godmother of soul. She was gracious, kind, and talked about being in Kansas City. It was something amazing. And somebody you hear about your entire life, right? Your entire life. You finally meet them. It was an honor. And although one thing's an issue, she's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So football talk came up a little bit, but, with the way they dispatched us in that Super Bowl, I didn't have anything to say.
Yeah. Well, in all seriousness, you might have been dancing like that last Tuesday at the Combine when the E-tax was passed, when you recently introduced legislation to build a new $1.9 billion downtown stadium for our Kansas City Royals at Washington Square Park. Now, Mayor Lucas, some folks are saying that this is undermining the authority of the taxpayers in Kansas City because all of a sudden we have $600 million to give for a downtown stadium that a lot of taxpayers, especially those that live east of Truce, won't even be able to enjoy anyway. Can you break down how this is a win for all people in Kansas City?
A few different things make it a win for all people in Kansas City. Let's just first of all talk about where the money comes from. You hear the headline, and I think it doesn't share the full story. The money that, by and large, is paying for the stadium comes from money that is generated by the Kansas City Royals today. We have been able to estimate what they're generating each year at Kauffman Stadium. That is what went into our financial calculations for this one. A lot of people are saying, why don't you spend it on any number of different things? The issue is, if the Royals leave, if they go to Kansas, if they go somewhere else, right, that's not money we capture anyway. They have made clear they're leaving Kauffman Stadium as well. So to me, this is kind of saying, all right, can we keep them by spending money from the Royals generated now on the Kansas City Royals? And of course, them going downtown. I know a lot of people have a lot of different viewpoints on it. I understand that. But what they have said is, one, they're moving. Two, this allows us to get a whole lot of secondary impact all around the community. You're talking about full restaurants, full bars, all around the core of the city, not just near Crown Center, Washington Square Park, but far east, south towards Midtown, the west side. So I think that there's real additive benefit for a lot of people. The other thing I would say in terms of the vote that happened before versus this one, we're looking at a very different tool. The previous one, every man, woman, and child in Jackson County, if you were in Grandview, Independence, anywhere in there, were paying to support a stadium that maybe you never went to. And I frankly get how people are saying, yeah, I'm not about that. There are a bunch of other priorities we have. This time when we're looking to have bonds that are backed by activity at the stadium itself, I think that is a night and day difference. And so, look, I get all the issues, parking, even though we got 19,000 spots downtown, walking distance to it. I understand some people say I ain't trying to go to the middle of the city, but we have done a lot to build up the core of our city over the last 30 years. I think this is a natural step in that progression. It keeps spending here in Kansas City. I'll make one last point. Union jobs at the baseball stadium. Your hot dog man, your beer man, all of that are represented by organized labor now. That is not the story that exists out in Kansas. So right now we got 1,000 workers who are union paid, right, or making sure that they're taking care of them, that if we keep them in KC mode, we do that. So that's how we got to introduce them that. That's why I think it's good for Kansas City.
Mayor Lucas, you mentioned the keyword parking. The city council eliminated minimum parking requirements in the urban core and reduced them across the rest of the city. Could you add some clarity on this? What does this mean exactly? And could you explain how this affects Kansas Cityans and small businesses?
It affects small businesses in a lot of ways. Let's say that you're a small business trying to open anywhere in the city, particularly in the dense spots of the city, and they say, well, to fix up your building and have your, let's say, coffee shop, whatever, you need to have 20 parking spaces, off street parking spaces. So either you are building a parking lot and adding $1 million of cost or something like that, or a few $100,000, or you're renting from somebody else. What this meant was it was an impediment to business. Let's say you're somebody who's trying to open up between, let's say on Truce, between 31st and Linwood, trying to brighten up a part of our city, trying to do important work, right? We were saying before, yeah, if you don't have an extra $250,000 or $300,000, you can't open in Kansas City. This changes that. I think this allows us to be a lot more agile with the development opportunities we have in Kansas City. Frankly, in dense areas, it's incredibly helpful. And here's what I've seen. I lived at 18th and Vine for 12 years, and I saw people come and figure it out if they wanted to come kick it. No, there was not a giant surface parking lot around there. Sometimes you parked kind of far down the street. You parked up and down Paseo. You went up and down 18th and 19th. But people came because that was where the activity was. That's where the engagement was. We don't need to deter businesses and growth in Kansas City. We need to welcome it, make it easier. And I think this is an important step. And let the consumer decide. Look, if you're the type of person who only wants to go to like a super Target in Olathe, God bless you. You can do that, get your parking spaces, all of that. If you want to be, chopping it up in the core of the city, dancing on Bourbon Street or our equivalent, you can do that without worrying about where to park.
Talking all things Kansas City with our 50-50 elected Mayor Quinton Lucas. Mayor Lucas, I've been covering your political career for several years now, and I have noticed that there has been one particular critique with you. Accusations of you, like just flat out lying to reporters. You have a reputation on social networks of having a very strong block button, and recently it's been reported that your administration conducted an audit of the Kansas City Star's coverage for perceived bias against city government in 2024. You have vehemently denied ordering this audit. Do you think that the reputation of you being a little sensitive to criticism is fair? And at this point in your career, and is your IDGAF meter at an all-time high?
I think first of all, I think I've taken a lot of flack over the years. I think I've taken it in stride. I was mayor in 2020 during COVID. Everybody was mad. Then there were protests. Everybody was mad. I tend to, take it in person and all of that. I mean, I think, I read the reporting and it's interesting because they say you're lawyerly and all of that, but the accusations came from a lady who's likely to file suit against the city of Kansas City, like almost everybody does when they leave. They asked me 10 questions. You answer 10 questions, and that's kind of how it goes. I think any reporter, any journalist, and you've asked me questions for a whole lot of years, knows I'll answer. I'm going to share my opinion about it, and I'm going to, get my message across. Now, I think that there are some. I try to live in the wisdom of our elders. I respect how Congressman Cleaver, man, I need to be a preacher in some ways and can kind of just keep it moving and all of that. But no, if you're speaking some foolishness on my page, particularly if you're saying some racist stuff, no, you're going to get the block button. Hello. And if you're a reporter who is saying something that I know is not true, then I'm just going to say, it straight. I mean, even the reporting last week, I'll just say this one kind of point, right? They're saying, you ordered this, that, and the other, when people who knew the city administration at the time knew, who kind of ran the administrative side of operations, who's no longer here, all of that. And I'm like, I'll take what I have done, what I've directed, but I'll make sure I share the truth on everything else.
Mayor Lucas, we always appreciate you being transparent and spending a little time right here on Hustle and Shine in the morning. Please continue to be a blessing.
Take care. Y'all have a great week.